he actually describes the characteristics of a bully. So if you want to follow about brethren, is Proverbs 6:16 to 19, and it says, "These six things the Lord hates. Yes, seven are the abomination to him: a proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, a feet that are swifty in running to evil, a false witness who speaks lies, and one who sows discord among brethren." And when we look at it, what it caught my eye, brothers, for example, because we know we need to look at different versions of the Bible to understand more what we're reading.
Exactly, yes.
The, even though it's not a recommended version, but you still have to look at some words. The New International version of the Bible, it actually uses the word haughty, which
Yes.
means someone that thinks they're superior or arrogant to than other. They're very arrogant. They think they're above everyone else, and that's what it says. They have an arrogant look. They look down on people, and it says the Lord does not approve of this. It's an abomination to Him. And someone that their hot plans and desires to do evil, because we, like you were saying, I mean, where do you draw the line? Because some nowadays you can't really say anything without someone crawling out, "I'm being bullied."
Exactly.
So I
Yes.
mean, if you, I think you made it pretty clear, and the Bible makes it really clear. Someone that's running to do evil.
Wanting to do evil, exactly, because sometimes the word bullied is actually being misunderstood.
That's right.
So people are actually claiming to be bullied when they might be going through another different situation which is not bullying.
Correct.
Exactly. Yes. So let's take a look at where bullying actually takes places. I mean, this is a worldwide problem, and this is one of the biggest platforms where we find the bullying is at schools. Amen. So in many cases, the bullying can be taken in different ways, and these can lead people into depression. And the bullying has so many consequences, and especially can lead people into wanting to end their own lives, to commit suicide, which is really sad. And I mean, and it's not the way to end this problem. And unfortunately, that's what people think. You know, that's what people are doing now.
We actually agree with that, actually.
Yes, it's a fact. So we're going to take a look at first the main reasons for bullying in schools. Okay,
Okay.
we're going to start off with this platform in schools. And the first one is because of the language, so language barrier. Then the second one is the race discrimination, you know, because of your culture, because you come from a different country. And then is the peer pressure.
Mhm.
Glory to God. Then is the appearance, which is, you know, it's taking, I think is a very, very strong one nowadays. And it doesn't only take place in the schools, because bullying can take place in your workplace, even in a household, with your own family, and also class. Amen.
Amen.
So we see how big and wide is this issue of the bullying. So, Brother Chris, I would like to ask you, what is your point of view regarding bullying at school with the language barrier?
Okay, so my sisters, I think that we would all agree
Yeah.
with the point of view that actually bullying, now that we've touched this specific point, bullying
Yes.
actually has many aspects, but in this point in time, it's very important to establish that we live in a society, in a very broad society, and a society where it's a society which has become multicultural.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yes.
I believe we all agree with that,
Yeah.
and something very, very evident is that immigration has a lot to do with this.
Correct.
I agree with
That's
this.
correct.
We all agree with this because even the immigration also, when our parents, when family members immigrate to other countries, this also comes to be part of the within the bullying parenthesis.
Exactly, yes, and even myself, I can testify very briefly that now that you mentioned the family, and I remember when we migrated to this country, my family and it was at the age of 10, and I remember going to primary school and being bullied because I couldn't speak any English. And that was really
Interesting.
hard. It was really
Mhm.
painful. I was only 10, And I remember feel very excluded from everyone, and I felt that I was the different. I felt so lonely. So it was a very tough stage of my life, and I was really badly bullied. But then I remember, speaking up, because we have to speak up. We
That's the main
cannot
thing.
keep quiet. And I remember my sister coming to school and speaking to the head teacher, and then they made this person that was bullying me come to me and to ask me for forgiveness. So
Yeah.
that was my happy ending in that moment. Glory to God.
No,
So
I agree.
yes, but also this language barrier is like a chain, because it takes you to the second one, which was discrimination, race discrimination.
Correct.
Because like the brother was saying, this is a culture country
Yeah.
where a lot of
Correct.
people from all different parts of the world come, and it can take somebody more time to learn the language, and then maybe the other one a shorter time. So but nearly 20% of the children from year 6, which is like that's the start of
11 years
that's
old,
the that's the end of primary school. Then to year 6 they have been bullied, and then the similar number admit to actually being taken part of the bullying.
Wow.
So it is a big number. 20% is a lot. And then Pastor Diana, in this times that we are living, what does the Bible says from the beginning of times? How do we find bullying in the Bible?
Well, like I mentioned before, we won't find the actual word bullying, but I did mention we do see cases. I mean, we see the cases of Moses, I beg your pardon, Joseph and his brothers.
Yes.
And not to go off the line, I'm afraid. For example, we see even Jesus with the Samaritan woman.
Yes.
That's discrimination. When he
Exactly.
asks her, and I'm sure we're all familiar with the story, when he asks her, give me to drink. And then she says to him, well, you being a Jew, you asked me,
You
a
asked me.
Samaritan woman.
Exactly.
And sister, actually, now that you actually touched the topic of course, of the interchange of words between the Samaritan woman and the Lord Jesus Christ, and it's, we actually see by the Bible itself that how the Lord Himself He broke down the same barriers which wanted to come and in order to confront Him, but He actually managed to break down that barrier.
Yeah, he did break that barrier. And how did he break the barrier? How did he break the barrier?
How did He break the barrier? Well, it's very clear, and we can see by the scriptures in the Gospels. He showed a depth of love towards this woman.
And like you said, Brother, also to cut your sister, but the interaction of words, because he came to her and it's like, if you knew who was asking you,
Exactly.
and then he started talking to her, he drew her in, and that's how is whether you're a victim, like my sister said, you have to speak up, because
Yeah.
if you don't speak up, if you stay quiet, like they're saying, they want to feel in power over you. No, you can't. The scripture tells us the Lord did not give us the spirit of timidity, but like to be timid, but to have love, self-control, and to to have power, and that's what the Lord wants from us, and especially that self-control to stand up for yourself and obviously speak up. It's easier said than done, but we always encourage you guys to speak up.
Exactly, yes. You cannot keep quiet, because then if you show the bully your fear, is when they're going to take more advantage of you.
Correct.
And then it's like a vicious circle. It has no ending. It's going to continue until it completely destroys you.
Correct.
So my sister, what could we actually say then? That being a victim is one thing, but also someone trying to pray, somebody, not the word pray, but for our audience to understand, somebody wanting to make of you a victim,
Yeah.
that could be interpreted very, very diversely, very differently actually.
Yeah. It's
Yes.
true.
It is very true, exactly. Glory to God. And another issue of bullying that we can find in schools now, jumping from language barrier, race discrimination, now we're going to jump into the third one, which would be, that is a very strong one at the moment in schools. It's the peer pressure.
Correct.
And for example, we see how young boys and young girls, they're actually, like the word says it itself, they're getting pressured onto doing things that sometimes maybe they don't even want to do those things, you know, and they're getting pressured not only onto sexual orientated, but also to smoking and drinking. I mean, what's your opinion about that, Pastor Diana?
Well, it's very true. I mean, in school we do go through peer pressure. I think we were all not timid, maybe some cheeky. We go through this, but I do remember in secondary school, being part of a popular group. I remember there was this a girl trying to fit in. I can't say names, but she was trying to fit in with the so-called cool kids, and obviously we were seeing the year 9, so that's like the age of 14. So at that age, unfortunately, you get pressure, not pressure, but you don't fear God, so you're in relationships. So the majority of us had a boyfriend, had a girlfriend, and I remember this young girl. She wanted to be to fit in, and she thought by fitting in, she would go and sleep with a guy, and this is what she did. And instead of fitting in, and I remember she came and opened up to all of us during a break, saying that she went and done this, and instead of fitting in, she actually became bullied over this. They mocked her and they called her all sorts of names because she thought everyone was sexually active, and she thought being cool meant being sexually active, but that is not correct. And unfortunately for her, instead of fitting in, she actually was more of an outcast. So what we're trying to say, or what I'm trying to say, is don't give in to what people expect of you. You're your own person, and like I was mentioning before, and it's in 2 Timothy 1:7, where it says that the Lord did not give us spirit of a timid spirit, but of power, love, and self-control. So young people, even adults that are watching, you can't give in to the peer pressure of what other people expect from you. You have to be your own person. You have to stand up. Like my sister said, the moment you let someone that thinks is stronger than you, because they're not stronger than you, they want to feel more powerful than you, and the way they feel like that is by putting you down. Like the moment you let them do that, they're gonna step all over you.
Exactly, yes, and we see so many, and like we were saying in the beginning, I mean, it's not, you don't necessarily, there's not an age for you to be bullied.
No, absolutely
not.
not.
And this mainly happens in secondary school.
Mm-hmm.
If we see, because of the age, that's where the going to the teenagehood, and where all these kind of feelings start to wake up in the teenager.
Correct.
So that helps, that puts a pressure more into that.
Correct.
Sisters, actually.
What is your point of view, Brother Chris? Yes.
Actually, I wanted to build upon what you were both saying, because actually, in this society, as in schools, but also, and you also touched upon schools as well,
Yes.
that the growing influence that we are finding, upon the society is truly something incredible, and it's actually, as our sister said here, it's taking people to do things, to commit things that they truly don't want to commit, but in sometimes they're hiding from their parents, but they're not really communicating what's actually making them feel influenced to commit these certain things.
Exactly, yes. And that's why from a young age, that's why we need to have the knowledge of God.
Amen.
That's why we need God in our hearts. We need the fear of God. We need, because that's the advantage of having Jesus in our lives. Because He gives us that light. He guides our paths.
Correct.
And He is going to help you overcome any bullying, because He actually gives us the strength. He gives us His love to fight against these things. Because when we come to the knowledge of God, is we come to the wisdom to find life and to see life in a different way. It's like we become wiser, because the Word of God says that the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. So I think from a young age we need to know about God, because He is going to help us, and you're going to be able to have the appropriate reaction to any sort of bullying, and not just bullying, but any other situation that you might be going through in your life.
Amen, sister.
Amen. And also because remember in the word of God in the 1st of Timothy, chapter 4:12, Paul was advising Timothy, and he was saying, let no one despise your youth. So you need to, God is going to teach you, and he's going to help you to love yourself. Because mainly you become a victim of bullying because you have a low self-esteem, because you don't love yourself, because you think you are less than others, because of what the others are making you feel like. Because also in school you also become a victim of bullying because you could be very intelligent, and
That's very true.
you are very smart, and then the bully feels jealous, and that's when he starts bullying you. Or it could be the other way round. You know, they can call you the nerd, yes, but then it could be the other way round, which you're not very good at the studies. Like I wasn't very good at maths, so I wasn't bullied by that, thank God. But I remember feeling a bit, left out because I wasn't good at maths.
Yeah, no, I don't think I
So-
was either.
So also that they actually bully you if you're
you're
not
dumb.
good at if you're
The
yeah,
word.
that's the word exactly.
The word dumb, which is not nice
Which
to
is
call
not
people,
nice.
but it's.
It is a reality. Exactly.
We
Yes.
totally agree with that, actually.
But you know, sister, you touched on a very important point that came to mind when you said the household. You know, so it's very important for us to have God at a young age. So it really talks about is your household, what is going on in your household.
Exactly.
To become a victim and to be the bully, it all roots back
Exactly.
to our households.
Exactly.
So-
Yes.
So,
That is very, very true. Because sometimes we don't know. We have to be really wise, and we have to be able to understand also why a person becomes a bully.
yeah.
You don't know what the person is going through at home. You know, what kind of issues, what kind of problems they're having with their family, with their brothers, maybe a lack of love. And they become an attention seeker, and then the attention seeking takes you to be a bully.
Correct.
So
It's having the balance.
yes, it's having the balance. So it's so many things are involved in this great topic. So, but like I said before, that's why we need the light of God in our lives to be able to handle this situation. And then God is going to help you to overcome this, and it's going to help you not to make any silly choices and decisions. Because some people actually they go into drugs because of bullying.
Mm-hmm.
So those are like the consequences of being bullied. It's going to take you to become a drug addict, or it's going to take you to really awful things that we don't even want to imagine.
Correct.
So that was the one of the types of bullying. And then another one that we experience again in school, it's the appearance. Amen.
Amen.
Because sometimes we as humans we tend to judge people
Correct.
because of their appearance.
Very
Yeah.
true.
And but then again, if we go back to the Bible, what does the Lord say? What did God say to Samuel when he was going to choose the king?
Do not judge by the appearance. For
Exactly.
I don't see the appearance.
Exactly.
It's very true. We're quick to judge on
We're quick
appearance.
to judge, and I think that's the reaction that the bully takes. You
Yeah.
know, okay, this person looks weak to me, like the definition of bullying.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna make so this one looks weak, so I'm gonna take advantage of this one, and I'm gonna bully him. Or like you was actually mentioning this, Pastor Diana, the other day, because sometimes people think that we are kind and that we are nice. They take advantage of that, and they think we're dumb.
Yeah, they can take as a weakness.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and sorry, sisters. Look,
Yes,
you
go
just said that people think they're dumb,
Mm-hmm.
but if we see this by the topic that we're touching now,
Yeah.
bullying, but we're seeing also the appearance.
Yes.
Is that look, we can see also through the Bible, those our audience, our dear audience who may be watching us also, we can also see through the scriptures a very known biblical passage, and which speaks about the prophet Elijah. Praise be the name of the Lord.
Amen.
And sisters, the Bible narrates and tells us very clearly in 2nd of Kings
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
chapter 2, verse 23, and it says, and he went down and he came from Bethel And as he was going up, by the way, there came forth little children out the city and mocked him and said unto him, and this is where this is the bit where I want to make reference about the appearance.
Yes.
That you two were also making reference about the discrimination in appearance. Look, this is what the children said to him. Go up, a bald head. Go up, bald head. And he turned, and in the scriptures we see very clearly, this prophet, he turned back, and actually, he carried on his way. But the scriptures tell us very clearly that these children discriminated him because he was bold. That comes part of the appearance.
Exactly, without having no respect and without even knowing him that he was actually a prophet, you know, a man of God. So they made this awful mistake. Yes, and we see that's also sometimes is the way you are being brought up at home. If you don't teach your children to be respectful, manners, if you don't teach your children that they have to respect people, and especially adults. So that's the way they're going to, that's the way they're going to grow up, to be disrespectful, and then and then eventually, it can actually, help them as well to become a bully.
That's correct.
Because they have no manners, and they think that, that's the right thing to do, and they are acting right, and then so this becomes very sad.
I mean, one of the things sorry to interrupt. I think one of the things that we find, and I think a lot of people watching will agree, that the majority of people, especially when we're younger in school, that we're all hormonal, we're developing, we're very influenced by what we see on TV.
Exactly.
And especially in the times that we live in, Denise Hatton, I got the statistics here, which is a chief executive of it's like a religious group, a charity from YMCA, which is Young Men Christian in Wales and England. She says the following. She said, bullying has always existed among young people, but this generation face increasingly pressure to live up to an unrealistic beauty ideals, which they say comes from celebrities, social media, and the media itself. And I think a lot of us can relate to this. I mean, the media, the magazines, whatever you look at the tabloids, they build up the perfect body, the perfect brand. I mean, if you're not wearing exactly the perfect image, and there's no such thing as the perfect image. I mean, we're all made in the image of God.
Exactly,
so like like you said, low self-esteem. It's all down to us. It's like really and truly we make ourselves the victims by allowing others to step on us. And
to step on us, exactly. And then that's the big influence of the in the social media or programs and beauty products and all of these things, that they sometimes they can have such a big impact on people that they can. The other ones will take advantage of what we're talking about, the appearance, to start bullying. Or you are something like, or your hair is not nice enough, it's not long enough, so you have to go and wear fake hair or whatever. And then they were always going to find a way to point at you to make you feel bad, and especially in the plastic surgeries as well. That's something that has increased a lot, even in underage girls.
very sad.
The rate, not just in boys, not just in girls, but also in boys. The appearance, they're wanting to look better, they're wanting to stand out and be like the super cool girl, the most popular one in school because they have a plastic surgery. And then once they get the plastic surgery, they feel that they have the power to go and bully other people and make them feel less.
That's it. It's like you're saying, it's attention seeking. But that's the thing. One of the things I think we can't forget is the reality of bullying. I mean, the statistics. I've got this, and listen to this, and everyone listening at home, listen to this statistic. It says more than half, which is 53% of young people who have experienced bullying based on their appearance said they become anxious, and as a result, 29 became depressed, and 1 in 10 said they had suicidal thoughts, and 9% actually self-harmed. So these are the consequences that these things lead to.
It's this stuff. You've actually I do apologise
None.
because the information is very clear.
Yeah.
It's very important, but also if I'm not wrong, productions also they have a short clip which we can also see the effects and how and what this has taken people to actually do.
Okay. Productions, go ahead.
School in Linden, where they lived, then at the school she transferred to, U.S. Jones Elementary in Demopolis. Her mother says she rode to school with a family friend who was white and that a group of her classmates taunted her with racist comments.
Things you wouldn't think a 9-year-old should know. And before my baby to tell me some of the things that they had, said to her, I was just like, where are they learning this from?
Mackenzie's grandmother found her in their home last week. She had hanged herself.
Just seeing my baby laying there, not being able to say nothing to me.
The school district is investigating.
We have provided grief counselors, crisis counselors at the schools, ministers, youth ministers have been on campus.
The Linden Police Department says officers spoke to 9 administrators and teachers at the school and all said they had no knowledge of Mackenzie being bullied. 9-year-old Mackenzie Adams was a 4th grader with a bright future.
That was my angel. She was a straight A student, very smart.
But her mother says Mackenzie struggled because she was bullied, first at a school in Linden where they lived, then at the school she transferred to, U.S. Jones Elementary in Demopolis. Her mother says she rode to school with a family friend who was white and that a group of her classmates taunted her with racist comments.
Things you wouldn't think a 9-year-old should know. And before my baby to tell me some of the things that they had, said to her, I was just like,
some kind of technical problem, but as you were saying, Pastor Diana, you may carry on with your explanation and the experience up in North.
Yeah, up north, like I was going on, it's really like we do have a tendency for more racism for the lack that there is not that much multicultural people. But I also understand that not everyone is racist. That's why I said we have to be careful with the barrier and shouting racism all the time, because like I was mentioning, when we went to visit Alive to do some service in the house, in this small little town, people looked at us because we were of color. And I didn't feel intimidated or they were looking at me badly. No, it's just they felt a bit curious. So sometimes we need to be careful, because I think in the society that we live in these days, people tend to be more sensitive, and like we were saying, they'll use the word racism, bullying in very wrong
context.
Exactly, that's the perfect
That's the
word.
word.
Amen. Thank you very much for the information, and that's very true. And I think also people, they might have their own reasons to have this kind of behavior, and some people cannot really stand, and then they take it further. They would take this further onto, if they see you in the street, they might come up to you and beat you up or something like that.
Yeah.
But it does tend to happen. But thank you very much for that information, Pastor Diana. So now we're going to jump onto a very strong topic as well, which is the cyberbullying. Amen. But before that, let's take a break. Okay?
Amen.
Thank you. beloved friends and beloved brothers and sisters that are watching us tonight. Once again, we are here with Pastor Diana, which is a great privilege to have our young Pastor Diana here with us, and our brother Chris. It's a great honor to have both of you here tonight. Once again, thank you very much for coming to our program, my beloved brethren. And so now we're going to jump onto the topic of cyberbullying. So this is also a very strong one, and it says that most common form of bullying was name calling, including via text and email, and using social media, including WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram. So we see that they're actually using the social media to bully people. Amen?
Amen.
And 20% followed by exclusion from social groups. So let's take a look at a video about social bullying.
Run away, away with me. Lost souls in revelry. Running wild, running free. And you kids, you and me. I said, yeah, living like we're renegades. Yeah. Living like we're renegades, long live the pioneers, rebels and mutineers. Go forth and have no fear. Come close and lend an ear. I say, yeah, living like we're renegades. Living like we're renegades.
Have you ever cyberbullied anyone? Have you ever been cyberbullied? Have you ever witnessed cyberbullying? 100% of teenagers answer yes to at least one of those questions. So that means everybody has a part to play to help stop this needless behaviour online. Play your part by using stop, block, tell. Stop. Stop and think before posting something online that might be upsetting to someone. Think about how you would feel if you were in their position. Block. If you are a victim of cyberbullying, block and report the person that has been bullying you. Tell. If you think you're being cyberbullied, report the person that's bullying you to a parent, guardian, or teacher. Cyberbullying is not okay. Nobody deserves it, and we can all help to put an end to it, for good.
So glory to the name of the Lord. So as you can see in this video, it is a very sad situation, and it's a major problem. So Pastor Diana, what can you tell us about the cyberbullying? What's the exact and precise definition of cyberbullying?
Well, the definition of cyberbullying is using online or mobile technology to harm someone emotionally or socially. Amen. So you've mentioned the platforms that we have. So we have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr. What's the another one? WhatsApp. There's Snapchat. There's so many platforms that people use, and they're a blessing. But when people misuse them, you see the consequences they can have. And I mean, in the Bible, it tells us in Daniel chapter 12:4, it tells us that in the latter days, amen, people will be running backwards and forth, and knowledge will increase. And we see this with society. I mean,
Exactly,
not to expose my age or anything, but when I was in school, that we didn't have all this stuff that we have now. I mean, I remember when Messenger was just coming out, or BBM. I think the BBM.
yes.
We all used,
BlackBerry, yes.
yeah, the BlackBerry usage, and even though bullying was more in schools, now like people used to be able to leave school and then maybe refuge at home. I don't know, but now it follows you everywhere. So I mean, society or technology, it can do so. I mean, it could bring us so close to someone,
Yeah.
but it can just like at the same time it can destroy you so much. So it's
Yes.
Who would have thought, though, that honestly, who would have thought that, as you said, as the biblical verse that you actually read, that who would have thought that technology could actually one day go and cross so many barriers to such a point that people are getting the word taunting. People are getting taunted and bombarded
Yes.
actually with actually terrible
Exactly.
and terrific
Yeah.
words which are destroying lives.
it's correct.
Yeah, destroying lives, and because these people, you know, start believing in that, because once you open that door and you start listening to those comments that they're sending you, those messages, or sometimes people can actually copy and paste your picture and they can make a funny picture. What do you actually call them? I
A
know-
GIF, not a GIF.
not a GIF, because I know the name in Spanish, but there is
Say it
an
Spanish.
actual name. It's called a meme. That's what you call it in Spanish.
I mean,
Yes, well, that, and then they make you, apparently they make you famous, but at the same time, people start sharing this picture all around the whole wide world, and then everyone is making fun of you,
Yes,
and
correct.
everyone is writing comments to a point that it's going to
It's
put
overwhelming.
so much pressure on you that you're going to end up, you know, wanting to disappear and never exist, because wherever you go, people are going to recognize you. Oh, that's the girl from the picture. Oh, that's you. Wah, wah, wah. You know, people are going to make fun of you. And then this is going to actually take you to commit suicide, because we see so many cases.
I mean, right now in the UK, I mean, just literally 2 days ago, another young lad took his life because of cyberbullying. Again, they had pictures of this boy, and he couldn't take it. And if you look at him, you wouldn't see him. Like I said, it doesn't. Appearance. It's so much is the appearance, because if I was to judge as a human, I would look at him and say, this guy would never get bullied, because like you just look at him and you wouldn't think he would, but he was a victim of bullying. And it's just and it's like I said, the power of technology. I mean, it's a blessing, because I mean, for us as Christians, it's a tool to evangelize, it's a tool to get out there, to reach you right now. I mean, right now, this video could be seen anywhere across the world in seconds.
Yes.
And it's, again, the word has to come, but it just, at the same time, you see how the enemy uses those platforms to destroy lives. So it's our responsibility to get out there as well, and use this platform to bring hope. Hope that, speak up. You're not alone, and most importantly, if you turn to God, and I don't want to jump ahead, but it is the solution, the advice that we have for you.
Exactly. So before you go there, my beloved brother Chris, and also it brings up to me this verse in the Psalms 27 verse 10 that says that even if your father or even if your mother forsakes you, the Lord will take care of you, that the Lord will pick you up, so you will never be alone. You know, because people can leave us, friends can leave us, they will turn their back on you. Once you've been bullied, once you've been harassed by all these comments, everyone's going to be laughing at you, you'll be so disappointed, and you're actually going to be let down by friends.
Amen.
And everyone's going to turn their back on you, because they actually will feel ashamed of you.
Sad.
But God will never feel ashamed of you. The Lord Jesus Christ will never leave you, will never forsake you, no matter what your situation is, no matter what you're going through. The Lord will always be there to help you. Yes, Brother Chris.
I'm not sure if you'll believe this, guys, honestly, my sisters, but even certain statistics actually speak that the risk of being frequently bullied actually has declined, and evidence has shown that it has actually started to decline as you grow old.
Yes, as the age affects, of course.
I can actually speak about that very clearly, because honestly, to be very honest with you, bullying and cyberbullying is a very broad topic, but it's actually something that I would be able to speak about very openly to those at home and those in the social media who also are going through bullying, that from a very young age, possibly, let's say, from beginning of secondary school, or maybe even finishing primary school, I remember those days. They were very sad days, very terrible days. Days when I would actually go into school, I would sit down, people would be, to say it this way, people would be swearing at me, people would be name calling me, people would be actually referring to me in certain ways. They would actually want to maybe possibly even hit me, and it was actually terrible because I remember how I was actually lonely in those breaks, in those moments where you wanted a friend, in those moments where you actually wanted somebody, possibly maybe maybe a hug or maybe a word of courage. But I remember those days where I was actually being bullied. I was actually let's say it this way. I was perhaps even spoken bad of throughout the whole school, and I remember that the hours would go by. I would actually try to perhaps to be maybe with teachers to find some type of comfort, but in those type of years, what you actually want is a friend of your own age. And it's sad actually because going through bullying and not being able to find somebody in who you can actually find refuge, that is actually something very sad. That is actually something very depressing if we see it this way. But as us as Christians, we know very clearly, my sisters, that if we actually deposit our trust, if we deposit as the Bible tells us that the Lord is our fortress, in Him we can actually find refuge and rest.
Yes, Brother Chris, that's a very interesting, and thank you very much for sharing with us your testimony, because you actually went through that. You know, you a big part of your life you actually went through this, but how can you tell the brothers and sisters and all the friends that are watching us, how did you actually finally came out of that darkness kind of thing? You know, because it's like you're locked up in that dark room, feeling lonely, feeling left out, and actually believing all these lies, because sometimes it's lies. Many of the bullying weapons are lies. So how did you overcome this? That you can tell us that you left that black box, in another word.
Yes, sister, and pastor as well. It's very important that we actually make mention that one point that many times is misunderstood is the issue of retaliation. That's the word to use, because retaliation is not a solution. Sometimes it even escalates problems.
Yes.
And as the question that you made me, so how did I leave this? To be honest, I wouldn't say it with shame, but until the end of school life, until the end of school life, I didn't manage to. I still didn't manage to leave that condition.
Okay.
Until school life, I still didn't manage to actually leave that dark room, as our sister well said. Until school life, I was still being bullied. I was still going through diverse name calling, but what could we actually say? It was when I actually came to Christ that truly, actually, we can actually say suicidal thoughts, or even the desire to want to hit people, or the desire the desire to want to maybe hide yourself in a box.
Yes.
That is not the solution.
Exactly.
Amen.
Amen. That's not the solution. That you actually found a final refuge in the Lord, because that's when Jesus comes to our lives, is when the light comes in, and when He actually makes us strong, and to a point that we learned that that's not our purpose in our lives.
Amen.
Our purpose in our lives is not to harm people, to bully anyone, or to be a victim of not just bullying, but of anything.
Amen.
Because the Lord, like you said, and that is a beautiful psalm, The Lord is our rock. He's our stronghold.
Amen.
He's the one that fights for us. And also, like you said, you came to a point when you actually wanted to hit people. You wanted to get revenge. But then when you came to the Lord, and I've experienced myself as well, the Lord fights for us. You know,
Yes,
the Lord
amen.
says we have to forgive our enemies, and that we have to pray for those who persecute us, and then the Lord will fight for us. He will not leave us in shame. And you must also remember that the Lord will never leave you in shame, because that's what the bullies want. They want to leave you in shame, but our God Almighty will never leave us in shame.
Amen. I mean,
what do you think about that beautiful testimony?
No, amen.
Pastor
Glory to
Diana?
God, and thank you for sharing that with us, brother. I agree. I mean, the scripture does tell us do not pay bad for bad, you know, an eye for an eye. The Lord calls us to love our neighbor, and even those who do us wrong. And it came to mind where the words when Paul says, you know, when it's down to you, be at peace with everyone. I know it's harder said than done when you're going through the situation, and but like you said something that really stood out for me when you were saying this, and I think it's something that anyone that's going through this should have hold of the hope. When he said decide, it came down to your decision. It's your decision whether you come out of the dark room or not. It's your decision whether you let Christ into your heart, because that's all it takes. I mean, the brother mentioned he couldn't. To him, he says, unfortunately to him, but that was your reality. To you was very late in your teens. You had to go through this, but the only time you was able to break this was through Christ. And that's like you watching. If you're going through this, like take it from someone that's lived it. And myself, we've come up from different type of sins, different kind of depressions. You know, because we all experience low points in our lives, but it all came down to a decision, letting Christ into our hearts. The moment you do that, you come out of the darkness, light comes into you, which is the light of Christ, and that's what we encourage you to do, to find that light, and it takes. I suppose we could step back and think as well, because we don't just want to concentrate in the victim. We have to think about the real victims of everything. If we're going to use that word, is what makes a bully become a bully.
Exactly, Pastor Diana. Well, you can ask that question. What makes a bully become a bully?
What makes a bully become a bully? I think, like we were mentioning before, is it all starts at home. That our root is at home. I mean, the Bible tells us a woman builds a house. The foolish woman can build a house. The foolish woman can destroy her house, but the wise will build her house. And I mean, you see a lot of unfortunately single mothers especially here in the UK. We could talk about the UK because this is where we live. You find a lot of single mother, young parents. You know, they don't know how to raise the kids. I mean, it's just.
They need the advice of the word of God.
Exactly. I mean, you can never stop learning, and I think that's why. I mean, like a bully, we was mentioning the darkness. They are in darkness. You are in darkness. I mean, that the word says, if you were in light, which is God, if you were in God, and you hated your brother, and when you say hated a brother, it could be a neighbor, it could be your friend, it could be your colleague, whatever it may be. From when you hate someone because you're doing evil to them, the light is not in you. Christ is not in you, so you need the light in order for yourself to be free. That light needs to come into you. Amen.
I actually agree with that, honestly, my sisters, because honestly, the original question which one of you two made was, what makes a bully want to become a bully? And one point of view that maybe we can elaborate and we can build upon this is that actually being a bully is because you perhaps maybe have seen not only the example of someone being a bully and you want to actually see how it actually feels, or perhaps not only seeing the image of someone being bullied, but also maybe how could we best say this? Not the image of someone being bullied also, but or the other the contrast to that is you want to know as well.
You're victimized yourself. I mean, like, personally, a bully for me is someone that's going through it themselves. They're facing something. In order for them to retaliate, you know, like I say, if for every reaction there has to be an action. So if you're given actions, physical actions, verbally actions, the fact that you have to be what people call a warrior, a keyboard warrior, taunting others is because that's how you're feeling. It's like you're
letting it all out.
Exactly, you're screaming for help and you're attention seeking for that help. So really and truly, like we said, like we sympathize and always with the victim that has to go through bullying, because we see the consequences, we see it daily. But the bully as well, we can't put them to a side and say they're wicked, they're in sin and they're in darkness, because they themselves are a victim. Because we know we battle against strongholds and
Principalities, yes.
Amen.
In the spiritual world, and that's why Christ wants to reveal himself to many lives out there that don't know God, because really and truly we can never ever, no matter how long you've been a Christian for, you can never say that you entirely know God.
Amen.
Because he is so mighty, he is so powerful, and he is so beautiful that you will never get to know God until one day that by faith we will see him. But you can actually get to know him, and to know that he is there to help, that he is there to guide. And we really need the love of God in our hearts, because also that verse came to me in Matthew 5:9, when God says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God."
Glory to
So
God.
you see that all that God teaches us is just it's just these beautiful things, that he wants us to be in peace with everyone.
Amen. I mean, like, just to like wind it up, like, the advice that we're giving you guys as well is like for someone that is going through bullying, speak up, because you're not alone. And look, and I share this promise with you, which is in Deuteronomy 31:6, and this is the Lord, and that will say to you, "Be strong and of good courage. Do not fear, nor be afraid of them. For the Lord your God, he is the one who goes with you. He will not leave you nor forsake you." Amen. The Lord will never leave you nor forsake you. It's you that part yourself from God. The moment you come to God with an open heart, he will never push you away, my friend. So speak up. Don't stay quiet. Not only do you speak up to the Lord, but you speak up to those around you. Because talking to someone doesn't make you weak. Keeping quiet makes you weak, because you're taking everything in. You're taking your burdens yourself. And the Lord says, "Bring your burdens to me." Amen. And even Brother Chris, if you please find Isaiah 1:18 for me as well, the person that does the bullying. Amen. Like Spurgeon said this, Charles Spurgeon said these words, and I think you should reflect on these words as well. And he said, there may be some sins of which a man cannot speak, but there is no sin which the blood of Christ cannot wash away. Amen. Yes, bullying is a sin, and we read it in Proverbs. It's an abomination. The Lord just hates it, but the Lord hates sin. He doesn't hate the sinner. So that's why you and me, we have opportunity. The moment we come to Christ, Brother Chris, if you please can read what Isaiah says to us.
Of course. So those that are at home watching, we find this verse in Isaiah chapter 1 verse 18, and the Bible tells us, "Come now and let us reason together, says the Lord. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they be red like crimson, they shall be as wool."
Amen. Glory to God. Is that it doesn't matter how dark your past is, how dark your sin may be, or you may think it be. There's nothing the Lord cannot wash from you. There's nothing the Lord cannot take from you. The moment you open your heart, brothers, you will not be the same.
Exactly. Amen. You will not be the same, and you have to give yourself a chance. You have to give yourself an opportunity to get to know who that mighty, beautiful God is. And also today, if you're seeking for help, if you need any type of help and advice, if you need a prayer from us, from our pastors, you are more than welcome to contact us through Facebook, through YouTube, and also for the youth and for anyone that would like to come and join us, we invite you to our youth services. We also have workshops for the youth, and we give a lot of help in any kind of situation that you're going through, especially through bullying. That's why we're here for. That's why God has put us in this place, to help all of those that need help, that are seeking for help, that are screaming for help. And our youth services take place on Saturdays from 6:30 and you can find on Facebook our address. So don't hesitate to contact us. I mean, it would be a pleasure, it would be a great blessing to be able to pray for you, to be able to guide you in anything, in any situation that you're going through. So I think we are coming now to the end of our program.
Amen.
So it's been a great blessing, Pastor Diana, to have you here. It's been a great blessing to have you here, Brother Christian. Thank you so much for sharing with us your testimony, because I'm sure that your testimony has helped so many of our friends, of our brothers and sisters that were watching us. And it's very edifying, the testimonies, because we all, in a way, I believe that we have all been through this awful situation of the bullying in any kind of way, but I believe we all have been through this situation. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Once again for joining us in the program, and please don't miss our second program, which we will be letting you know through the YouTube and through Facebook, so you can once again join us for next time in the corner. May the Lord bless you.
May glory to God. God bless you.